So the Mo said I need to make an offering to Rahula, and he's got a lot of eyes. So I was going to make another video, and so yesterday I was sitting on the porch of the community center watching at least three Negroes not doing very much at all, and they waited till the end of the day for somebody to deliver rock that they put on a tarp on top of the grass to sit there from 4 p.m. to sundown at 9 in the heat. And it'll probably be at least a week before they move it from there. So they're wanting to mark, now they're tearing up the grass again, which is something that they do. And it's just like, you get used to it, bitch. That's how they are. This is what we do. This is a mark that a man has worked there. No, it's not. It's a mark that, it's a mark that wild animals have savaged us. And so I made the video 5 years ago when they were doing the rebuild. Dave Paget stood on my porch, and a bunch of his guys had gone down from COVID. And he wasn't able to find the people that he had originally planned to use to work here. And I think part of it is because the first day of the job, they start knocking on my door, wanting to talk to me. And I was in the pneumonia stage of getting over COVID in March of 2020, which means that I was deliberately infected after samples were received from Gary, where the first case in Indiana was documented. And it was sent down here to Cook. And about a week or two prior to that, I had heard a man say that when COVID comes around, she's the first to get it. And I was. I had been trying to brush up on my Chinese. I'd been saying some Chinese on Facebook and learning to write some of the characters. And I got a letter from Becky that said that Lynn Finkel's son was in the State Department and was stationed in Beijing. And then I got COVID. And so I went through a couple weeks where I was just like, hypoxic and tripping balls because, some of these people on COVID, you go pretty Fruit Loops. And I felt like somebody put a tube in my throat and force fed me psychedelics is what I felt like. And by the end of it, I was having this physical visual fantasy of being in the Hall of the Mountain King as one of his ladies, and that I was a wind horse in his imagination. And so I was dancing around in my house, and Dave shows up with specific information about how I was dancing, what I was wearing, what I was doing, and saying, I don't want to ever see her do that again. We need to... He literally says this day on the porch. He was talking about how he had lost a bunch of his guys, right? So there are several conversations that are running together a little bit. And one of his guys, and he sets the scene for this, he sets the trigger. So he says, Title III is all a bunch of Negroes. And he doesn't say Negro, right? And I don't want to work with Negroes. He says, don't worry, you can count on me. You know what these projects are about? I'll tell you what these projects are about. It's not about doing anything for them. It's not even about getting this money, because there's other ways I can get this money. It's about building dossiers on these individuals. Because this one here, you don't know what I had to do to make her crippled like this. You don't know what I had to do. She had potential. She could have been somebody that could have been the boss of all of us. And you know how I'm not going to allow that to happen. And I got her early, and everyone around her just handed her over to me. But I have to maintain this one because she is fighting so hard. But don't you worry, I have that information on everybody on the Title III list. I'm not going to refuse them because they're a Negro. It doesn't say Negro. But I'm going to refuse them because I know how they brush their teeth. I know how bad it smells when they poop. I know who they've had sex with. I know what their trigger words are. And this is the thing. I know what their trigger words are. I know what chemicals work on them. And he's saying all this. They're building the porch. I'm sitting on my couch, and they're building the porch just over the wall from my couch. And he's saying all this to him. And I start hollering, "You're the Negro! You're the Negro!" And I'm not saying Negro either. You're the one who's the Negro. But it's kind of like one of those things where I'm trying to put a sound spike on the audio surveillance at that time print. And making sure that he talks about that incident, possibly writes it up, puts some documentation in the write-up at this time, at this place. He starts talking about having to bring a gun. And I'm like, this man just admitted in front of me, I mean, I got him to say all of these things, that he was raping me as a child, that he was filming himself raping me as a child, and he wants to bring a gun, and you're going to side with him. And I'm like, and I have long since lost the ability to see anybody around me as anybody but complicit, right? Very few people. And they have to pretty much show me a federal badge, or I see them as complicit. And even some of them. Because your prioritization, and I'm telling you what, there is no one on this earth that I am not related to that I would lift a finger for at this point, unless they are in submission to my son. And I am starting to remember, I guess when he was 4 and he was coming here getting his pants, he did visit us and drive for a while. And that's before I completed my royal duties. Because he was trying to say, I remember that you were in my life when I was a child. And I want you to remember that too. And I did just remember sometimes. I remembered a conversation. It escapes me now, but I realized, see, I replay these things in my mind, and they just tell me that they're dreams, right? If anything crosses, if I say anything about it, if I talk about it, if I do some of the behaviors associated with remembering it, pop. Okay, they hit me in the brokers again, or they cut a little more out of here. Anytime they do any new brain damage, I have to relearn a lot of behavior. So I have learned to try to avoid that. But that sound makes it look like, and then they've gone to my son and said that she doesn't want to remember you. I do want to remember you. That's why I'm trying not to remember you. Because there might be a time in which I can remember without it being cut from my brain. So people who are saying that this is crazy talk are liars. And I'm pretty sure that their favorite song is the Lie Song. And that anyone who is in their camp is under their flag, is following their symbols, is because they're saying because they can't get to my son, but they can get to me. And they're doing this because of him. And they're doing this because of my husband. They say, well, it's really funny. You didn't do anything to them. There's a lot of people that didn't do anything to anybody that they got. And I was like, who are they? Meanwhile, I'm in here, practicing my voice, I was going to say, ich habe keine Idee, was sie hat gesagt. And, I find myself, ich habe keine Idee, was sie haben gesagt. And, because we need to practice, I guess. I don't know. But, Pimadetsu means Edelweiss.